Hello and welcome to The Healing Way. My name is Richard Clark, and on this video I'll be going more into perception and how to develop it. The last video on this was more to do with the general outlook and to try and lay do some groundwork to lay out the general ideas. On this video I'll be wanting to go into it a bit deeper and to explain more about how it works for healing and how healing methods can be developed. Now, perception, in my view, is the way that the mind works. The mind perceives. Our minds perceive, and this is one thing amongst many things that the mind can do. It can have insights, it can understand, it can see much deeper than, generally speaking, what I think of as the brain, the physical side. So you've got the mind, which seems to be composed of energy, that works with other energies, has a relationship with other energies. This fits in with previous videos I've posted, putting forward the idea that the mind is composed of different energies. It is a construct, a compound of different energies, the four forces or energies in the universe that I've spoke about. So it's an energy or a field, and as such it has abilities over other fields, other energies, and these other energies we term things like perception, insight, understanding, intelligence. It's all to do with connecting with energies, understanding energies, and energy, which is mind, being able to have a relationship with these energies. It can't be done with the brain. I don't think it can be done with the brain. The brain's fine for the intellect, the intellectual side, for working things out, for thought, for this kind of capacity, memory, and it has created the world that we live in. The world that we live in is by and large from thought, and most countries now in the world are trying to catch up with this. If you look at these emerging economies, they're very much thought-based. It's very much an intellectual approach. Now, the problem with that is, I mean, thought can be very creative in its own way, but it's more the creation of extending from where it is already. It isn't really truly creative. I don't think, I mean, these methods that I've come up with, they really are unusual, and I don't think they can be worked to or discovered through thinking, through logic, through reason. It can't be done that way. You cannot get to these methods through thinking and intellect. Thinking and intellect will produce what we've got, medicine, and it's all very well. I mean, I'm not criticising this, but it is only one side, one aspect. There's two sides. There's energy and there's the physical, the material. And the creative understanding is done in the energy side, I think. Now, most of us have become totally into the physical side. That's all we know, that's all we use. Most people are quite happy with that, and that's fine. This isn't the criticism of that. What I'm saying is that there are those people who want more, who want to have something different, and to have a perception-based life, and to enter the world of perception, or the world of energy, through perception. And as I say, these methods that I've come to have started by perception, have come from a perception of energy in people, what is going wrong with their energy. And from that perception arrives an understanding of what needs to be done. So perception is only one thing, one part of a unified process of insight, perception, understanding, creation. They're all interlinked. You can't have one without the other. I'm pushing perception as a breakthrough one. If you want to enter the world of energy, it seems to me the way to do it is to start to develop perception. Perception is the mind seeing, right? Energy. And then you can apply that to all the different areas. Like I apply it to healing. I feel that perception-based methods for healing people is the most useful way of using what comes, the information that's found out. It's the most beneficial way. That's just me. Other people might feel completely different. Other people might just say, well, I've got this perception, I see things, that's it. That's as far as I want to go, that's fine. It doesn't matter what you do, so long as you're doing it. It's the people that worry me are the ones who are totally oblivious to the energy side of life, because there's so much harm develops and comes from the energy side of life. And if we're oblivious to it, we're constantly going to be blindsided by these problems that come out of the energy side. So it seems to me perception is a good thing. It's a good thing to balance the mind, balance the mind and brain relationship, because at the moment it's just brain, and we've got the world as it is. It's very physical. It's what you see is what happens, and beyond that there isn't anything. It's just dismissed as being subjective or delusional. With the healing methods, the proof of what's seen is that the healing methods work. If the healing methods work, it's because they've been deduced. The deduction of what's gone wrong has created the healing methods. So that is the proof. It's very important, I think, to test and prove what it is you're doing. The great thing about healing is it is a means for me, as well as healing people and doing all kinds of other stuff, it's a means for me to test or prove the perceptions. Yeah? Because anybody can go off into a delusional state and start having perceptions or seeing perceptions or whatever it is. This is quite common in religions. There is this trance state where people just have visions of whatever their religion says they're going to have. This isn't about that. This is a direct perception while you're wide awake, not in any kind of trance or stupor. You're not in a meditative. It might resemble meditation, but not a kind of the meditation where people chant and put their brains into some kind of stupor. It's not that kind of meditation. It's a clear insight and perception into the energy state. The energy state. That, I think, is it. Right then, how do you go about this thing? Because you've been looking at people all your life. I mean, the best place to perceive is inside people. That's where the energies are strongest. Right? You can perceive or feel the energy of living things, like animals or trees or birds or whatever it is, fish. When you're perceptive, you can feel. And you can also have this seeing. But the best place is with people, because that's where it's strongest. That's where it's strongest and most complex. I mean, if you really want to develop your mind and develop understanding, study people, because that's where, excuse me, that's where the energy is most complicated, most complex, and most intriguing. I mean, it's never, you know, it's an absorbing study, and it will never come to an end. And I don't think it should. You know, it means that there is always something for people to look at, to always get into. The other thing is, it's not a good thing to try and use this in a harmful way, to use it for self-interest, for personal reasons, for personal purposes. If you can use perception to read people very well, but it all goes wrong as soon as you start using it to gain advantage or to put yourself first, or to try and promote something you're doing. That isn't the way of perception, really. It's a very you do gain insights, but those insights have to be. You have to have the discipline in your mind to use them for the benefit of people, not for your own benefit. Before you can get to this point, you need to have sorted out why it is you're doing these things. You need to understand that one of the rules I do my healing by is no personal gain. And there is no better way of putting it. No personal gain at any level, right? No personal gain. The other rule, the main rule, is do no harm. Now, once you've got to that point, you're happy, you can perceive things, you can start to learn things, and you're not going to use them in a harmful way or an advantageous way to yourself, then it's fine. You can start with your perceptions and start looking in to people, and be aware that, as I say, it's not some sort of trance state. You're wide awake, your mind is very alert, very open, but it is not it is not in the thinking state. The thinking state goes quiet. The thoughts, the intellect, the me, the mind, my problems, my whatever it is, just let it go quiet, sit quietly and just look without any desire to label or judge or condemn whatever it is you're seeing. None of that, because as soon as you start labelling or judging or thinking, oh, I know what that is, that's it. The thinking mind comes back in and it's starting to interpret. It's starting to interpret, and it doesn't change what it sees, but it changes what you think you're seeing. You'll think you're seeing something you're not, or you'll think you're interpreting something you're not. It's a tremendously difficult part, this, because all our lives, our brains interpret everything we look at. We look at a wall and we think blue. We look at the sky and we think clouds. We look at the floor and we think floor. You know, we're trained into labelling, into comparing and judging, thinking, oh, that's a nice floor, but if I did so and so, it'd be much better. And we're back to the physical mode, the brain mode. And as I keep saying, there's nothing wrong with that. When it becomes wrong, if that's the way of putting it, is when that's all there is. It's switched on all the time. Because this side hasn't got the capacity to deal with a lot of the major problems of life. Right? This side, the brain side, is there, in my view, my judgment, to carry out the implications of the energy side. There's a saying I've come across just recently, as above, so below. And this, I think, is very true. The energy side, the mind, is above, and everything that comes through from that comes through, and then the brain works out the best way to implement it, the best way to use it. Like with healing, you see the problem, and the mind puts the information through to the physical side, and then the brain has to figure out how to make it all work. It's like I've spent months going around looking at different materials, what material to use. When I first started and I came up with the Liquitabs idea, for months I was going around looking at, I knew I had to find something, some substance or chemical that would work. I had to find that. And I was going around for months trying to find it until I actually fell over it by accident, in a way. It's a good example. I was having breakfast one morning and I was, for some reason, there was a box of soap powder on the table, and without thinking about it at all, this is classic, without thinking, I was reading the ingredients. It was the contents, what was in it. And as I read down, I read sodium, and it just sort of leapt at me. Sodium, of course, that's what it is. It's sodium. And that's when I started using sodium. And I used different soda products with sodium, soda crystals, all kinds of things. And then ended up with the Liquitabs. But this is a good example of the mind supplying the information, but not in a concrete form, not concrete in terms of this is what you need. You just have this kind of knowledge, intuitive knowledge, that then the brain has to sort out and put into practice, into reality. But the key point there was my mind was switched off. I was having breakfast and I was reading the contents of a soap powder box without even knowing it, when this thing, it just jumped out of me. And it's for a better way of putting it, it's good fun. It's good fun to develop yourself, develop your mind, and to balance out your mind and your brain, so that it's, you know, sometimes it's appropriate for this side, sometimes it's appropriate for the other side. Now, I don't think the two can work at the same time. You can't have mind and brain working simultaneously. I can't. Maybe others who are better than me or understand better, I don't know, they can. But for me, I have to let the thinking side go quiet, just to drop away, and then the mind comes in and it starts to perceive naturally. It's not a forced action. No amount of forcing will make this work. It works because it works by itself. It's a natural process, and the only thing you can do is, like, it's the same with healing. When you do the healing, you can't make it any better. It just works. But you can make it worse by not doing it right. You can block it. And this is the same with mind. You cannot make it work any better. You cannot force it. But you can get in its way. You can stand in its way by trying to make it do things. Saying, I want to do this. I know you mind, you want to do this, but I want to do this. This is something I have problems with, because I'm all the time trying to label and guide what I'm seeing to go down a certain road. But you can't do that. There can be no labelling, no pushing, no guiding, no trying, no forcing, no wanting, nothing. Just let it happen. And then it's interesting is how far you can let the process go. Because as it rolls on, as the mind process rolls on, more and more comes out, and more starts to show itself, and then more implications arise. And then the time you spend in the thinking world, as it were, becomes less and less. So the amount of time you spend thinking is reduced, but the amount of time you spend perceiving and reflecting and understanding and having insights, that is much more. Now, there's another thing I'd like to say here on this. Insight is very powerful. It is literally, I mean, I've had insights into healing and other things where they've rocked my world. It's been bang. It really has been strong. And the first thing we do is put up barriers, right? We do this all the time. We put up barriers. If something comes, we don't like it, bang, up goes a barrier and we block it. No. One thing that needs to be done, especially with powerful insights, understandings, or one thing that needs to be seen, is that these things roll through us. They roll through us, and the rolling through us, through our minds, through our brains, through our bodies, every part of us, these insights, as they roll through us, are like become revelations. And there's this huge shock of revelation. And it is stunning. You'll sit there for a while just stunned. And hopefully your mind will stay quiet. It will keep your mind quiet. Maybe 10-15 minutes you'll just sit there and it'll be like, wow. That is amazing. I mean, the times I've done that, I said earlier that that with healing it's no personal gain, but I must admit, if there was going to be a payoff, this revelation, this insight, this power of revealed content is amazing. It absolutely does. It rocks your world. And in that rolling through, if you can relax and just let these insights roll through you, then you'll find you're having a change. Your existence is changing. It doesn't just change, it doesn't just give you a different view of things, it changes your whole existence. Insight does that, if you can let it go through. Most people have a partial insight, it happens for a second, and then they block it. It just stops. Their minds put up barriers and that's it, that's enough. I don't want to know anymore. but to be relaxed in your mind and your brain and your body, so there's no barriers anywhere, so the whole thing just rolls through you. That is the way to do it. And then the full splendour of what you is going through you will be revealed. The trick is not to put up barriers and not to jump in. Not to jump in with the brain and go, oh, I know what that is, and straight away the brain tries to take over and it blocks the process of insight. Right, good. So far so good. Now then, going back to getting started, the best place to look is people, I think. I mean, you can get a little bit from animals, mostly sort of warm feelings animals have. I mean, the danger with trees is people straight away think, oh, you're a tree hugger, and off it goes into new age sort of mumbo jumbo. Not that I'm against anything like that, it's just that you have to be absolutely, it's almost clinical with pushing things out the way. You have to be brutal in saying, no, it's not that, no, it's not that, no, it's not that. You know, that is all very attractive. It's nice. You can go off and become friends, we can join groups and all the rest of it. This is one of the reasons that I work by myself, I'm on my own. It's simply because groups, you join up with a group and soon you're doing what the group does. It's not what you're doing or what you should be doing or what you're capable of doing. You've just given over authority or control of what you're doing to a group. And it's pleasant because the group, there's friends and they tell you what to do, and they say, well, tonight we're going to do this, and the brain or the mind just switches off and you go, yeah. And then you sit and have these wonderful visions in meditation and the whole thing. Really, I'm always thinking, well, what good's this doing anyone? You know, it's going back to selfish ends. It's just, I will develop as long as I get something out of it. If you do that, if you start from that point, you'll never get anything. You'll only get a delusional state. The mind will create what it is it thinks it wants, and that will feed back, and you'll be totally caught up in all that. I see so many people, I think, yeah, but it's not real. You know, they've got all these great feelings and all this, that and the other, and it's only my point of view, but it isn't real. You know, if there were no problems in the world, fine. Sit in a stupor called meditation and drift off. Fine, if that's what you want. It's not for me to say it's wrong, it's only my point of view. If there were no problems in the world, but which is greater? You know, all these people suffering, all these people with illnesses, or just to feel good about yourself. Something to think about. Right, going back to people. Now then, the strongest way to start with perception, the hardest way is not having contact. The strongest way is to make contact with somebody. So, if you've got a friend who will let you, and you have permission to place your hands on their shoulders, or on their head, or some part that isn't going to get them to call the police. Remember now that no personal gain in all this. So if you have a friend, see if they'll let you make contact. The back's a good place, the shoulders is good. And then close your eyes and just try to feel through your hands into their bodies. Right? Try is not really the right word, just let it happen. With this kind of contact, you'll find that there's a blending or a joining. It won't be two separate bodies. If you can relax, just breathe normally, no special breathing, just breathe normally, relax. Don't hold your shoulders up like this, just relax your shoulders and place your hands on their backs and just blend or join. Blending or joining means dropping the barriers. And then two people become one. And then you will feel, or rather see if a process will start up. Don't push it, don't force it. Let the active mind fall away, the thinking mind, let that fall away, go quiet, and just sit comfortably and do nothing. It doesn't matter if nothing happens, because in the early days, if you start having too much too soon, what will probably be happening is that you're creating it. Your mind will fill in the blanks, If you want, I want these things, your mind will go, righto, here it is. And you'll go, thanks very much, yeah, it's great, it's visions of whatever. I have all these great visions. This isn't visions, this is perception. Perception of real things, real energies. The only problem science has with any of this is they can't detect it with gadgets. They haven't got any way of detecting it. If they did, then there wouldn't be a problem. We could just say, yeah, it exists, let's study it. But at the moment, science would look at someone like me and just say, no, it's subjective, it's not real. But I say, well, no, it is real, and the proof of it being real is the methods work. Right? You cannot get the methods through logic and intellect. The methods only come from insight, understanding and perception. Because look at the methods. I mean, nobody could honestly say with step 1, healing with energy step 1, it's a placebo effect. Because I'm putting washing liquid or washing powder on people's ankles. Who in their right minds thinks that's going to heal them? It can't honestly be a placebo effect. And it gets much, much more than a placebo would anyway. Right, so once you're back with your friend and you're making contact, just let your mind, just try this as an exercise for a few times. Let the friend try it on you, and then you can feel what's coming through. You feel from the friend feels through you. And start to become less reliant on eyesight. That's another problem nowadays. Everybody uses their eyes for everything. Eyesight is dominant, with 5 senses, but eyesight is a dominant one. When I was quite interested, this was an experience I had years ago, there was a 6th sense arose out of harmonising the 5 senses. A 6th sense, which was a blending of the 5 senses. Now I was reading Da Vinci, some of his notes, and he said yes, the 6th sense arises from the blending of the 5 senses. And he called this 6th sense the common sense. And that's where we get it from, the common sense. If we stop overemphasising the use of one sense, rein it back in, let the 5 senses come into balance, the 6th sense, the common sense, will start to appear. And that's quite a surprising, interesting thing as well. I mean, we hardly ever use listening. Listening is very, very good. This is another way you can perceive through listening. You can listen to someone's voice and go deep into the voice. All the illnesses are revealed in voice. The tone of voice, the pitch of voice, how an illness changes the voice. Everything's there, all the markers are there, the eyes can see all the changes in a person, the change in the texture of the skin, the colouring of the skin, the look in the eyes, the brittleness of the hair, especially with arthritis. You know, you can go on and on and on. Everything's revealed. Smell is another good one. So we can perceive through the senses. Don't just hear, listen. Don't just touch, make contact, join. Don't just see, perceive. Go into it. Open up the senses and listen to the senses. Study the senses, study the information that comes in. The mind is just another way of receiving, perceiving information. Because all these energy states are information states. Energy is information. Okay? Now I would like to say, I don't want to bring the psychic into this, and I would like to say this is not the psychic. This is not psychic perception, that's something different, completely different. This is human perception, the human mind perceiving. Right, so, and that's a good one, listening deep to someone's voice, because you cannot listen to somebody and it going very deep without it being a perception, without you going quiet. You have to go quiet. And you're not aware, as soon as you're aware that you've gone quiet, then that's brought back in the thinking mind, usually. There is an awareness. Awareness and perception do go hand in hand, funnily enough. But there's the awareness of the brain, which is self-awareness, and there's just awareness, which is the mind. It's all very interesting. Right, so you're making contact with a friend, and then just let it happen. Try this for even a month or 2 months. Just let yourself start to open up and develop perception. When the friend talks, listen deeply. Look at the friend, see the friend's body condition, how they walk, how they stand, their gestures, why they do this, why they do that. Don't label it, watch it, perceive it. Everything. Body condition. Body condition is very important. I need to do a video on body condition. Body condition is everything. Body condition reveals everything. As I heard years ago, somebody said, and it's very true, the mouth can say anything. What people say, it could be true, it could be lies or something, but the body condition always speaks the truth. Always speaks the truth. No matter what it is, you'll see it in the body condition. Whether it's love, fear, hate, greed, envy, or illness, which is the subject matter of what I'm doing. Okay, so you're with your friend and you've tried this for a few months, in contact. Now, join with the friend and then slowly, without changing anything, break the contact. Move away, but keep everything exactly the same, so that you're in a perceived state without the contact. Because that's what we're aiming for. That's the point where you can just sit there and look, and there is perception. Quiet perception, and it's still there even after you've broken contact. Okay, good video this. I've put a lot into it. I'm glad that I managed to get so much out. And that's another interesting thing. You perceive all this stuff and then it needs a release. So it's like you're full of all this stuff. I'm full of all this stuff that I've perceived. I release it out through the videos and the blogs, and then I'm empty. And then there's space now for all new stuff to come in, new perceptions, new understandings, new insights, and off it all goes again. Yeah. You don't necessarily need perception, or you can have perception before you do something. Like with the healing methods, I have a perception of a person's energy state. That feeds through to the brain works out the energy method, you use the energy method, then perception comes back and watches what happens here, what happens there. Because quite often things happen that I never dreamed of. I'd use the energy method and I watch it and I'm like, wow, it's got rid of that. That's good. I didn't know that was going to happen. And it's nice. Don't get caught up in certainty. That's another thing to avoid, like the plague. Certainty is very bad news. As soon as you're certain about something, it's over. When my friend comes round, Gavin, we have conversations. Really, it goes deep into stuff, and sometimes he'll come out with something, and it just turns my world upside down. I'm just like, wow, I never thought of that. I never considered that. He was talking. I'll give you for instance. When I saw him last, he's very much into mind and ego, and all these different things. And he was saying that the ego is static energy, and because it's static energy, it's composed of static energy, it's got a north and a south, it's got a pole, they've got poles, and these poles can draw in illnesses. And this is something, and I was just turned over by this, because it was such an amazing revelation. I've never read this or seen this anywhere, and it was a remarkable thing to come out with. And I feel that I'm working from the ground up. Maybe one day I'll get a better understanding of all of these things, and he's working from the top down. So hopefully there'll be a convergence at some point, and I would very much like to record the conversations we have, because I think they're quite important in a modest way. I think what comes out is very important. It's the revelation of mind, and which anyone can do. We've all got minds. You know, don't think this is some exclusive ability or power. It's not. We've all got exactly the same things. Some people can do. Most people have got a gift. I will grant you that. Most people have got gifts, and they can develop the gift. Over the years I've seen people with gifts that I know I haven't got, and it could be anything. Could be anything. Usually the gifts are energy based. They usually are an energy base. But I don't think I'd swap anything, the healing. I mean, what I get from the healing, if it is my gift, if it is, it's my gift to you. I wouldn't swap that for anyone else's gift. You know, I admire what other people have got, but I don't envy them. I don't think, oh, I'd like that, because that's the great thing in life, when you're content with what you've got, because what you've got is everything. You don't need other people's stuff, because you're going to spend all your life developing your stuff and working out your stuff. Okay. So give that a try. I'm going to probably do a series of these videos. There's 3 strands at the moment: the development of perception and related issues, the development of healing methods, and blogging about how our bodies get ill and go wrong, and all the damage done mostly by insects. That was a shocking revelation, the damage done by insects to us. It seems that insects are at the heart or the base of so many problems. But happily, Healing with Energy Step 3 seems to push out all this bad insect energy, but we're actually full of it. That was another unpleasant perception, that how much insect energy came out of us. It's horrendous. We're absolutely full. I thought there was just a small amount causing damage, but it's not. We're saturated with it. Anyway, on that happy note, I'll finish this video. There's an email you can send, you can use if you want to get in contact. There's a blog, we're on Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. You can even put comments. I've seen people on YouTube, they point down to the comments box. It's pretty good. So there's comments.